Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how to blink an LED using an Arduino uh, through by showing you the hardware itself. Now these are the things that you require to get this project done. You'll need an Arduino Mega or any Arduino basically, but I suggest you go with the Mega or the Uno since or the Leonardo. It's up to you actually, but just don't go with the ones that require soldering or just come in flat boards. Make sure they have pins for you to connect something sensors into. Okay, you need an LED. You need a wire to get this connected to your board. I'll explain that later. And you need a USB cable to connect to your computer for programming. The first thing you'll notice on your microcontroller, if I can zoom that in. I forgot how to zoom. Is that fine? Okay, now you got lots of ports here for you to plug things in. Now just assume all these things are called plug-in ports. They're actually I/O ports, and you can purchase various sensors available, like many people sell, especially for Arduino itself. There's lots of compatible sensors that you can play around with, like a pulse sensor. You can use a door sensor. And then there's the temperature sensor, and there's the list goes on and on. There's a variety of things you can do with this, but the best way to start is by blinking an LED, because I think that's how you should all start, because it gets you done with the basics. Now looking at this device, you'll find that it has a port. Obviously this is for the wire, so you can plug into the computer. And then you have a power jack if you wish to power this externally through a power through the wall or something. You have a reset button. Now this resets your controller because what many people do is if this is plugged in, if they want to reset it, they'll just plug it in and plug it out and plug it back in, which is not the way. Okay, that's about it for this thing. Second, you need a breadboard. This is just a simple breadboard for you to connect sensors onto, or wires. Now what many people do is they look for, now these things are numbered from 0 to 13. What people do is they just connect it, by the way, this is the LED. Okay, if you have this, you look at the ends, you make sure that the short end is grounded. Alright, the short end means ground. This one is the one connected to 5 volts or a pin or whatever. Now what many people do is, since the Arduinos, the pin layouts are the way they made it is the 13 is right next to ground. So what people do is they just twist it over and they connect the 13 and ground right next to each other like that. Now you can only do this for pin 13. You can't do this for pin 8 or 10 or 1 or 3 or whatever. You can only do this for pin 13. The reason is, if you've wondered how come this doesn't blow, if you remember high school, that you need to run resistors through certain components to control the current going through them so they don't blow up, they don't melt from inside. The only reason this survives, because when I started using the Arduino, I've also wondered, well, how do they do this? But then I found out that the Arduino itself has a resistor on pin 13 because it has an LED on board, so they've put a resistor in there, so it takes care of everything for you. But we're going to do something differently today. We're going to be connecting the LED separately. So let's get started with this. The first thing you want to do is choose a pin. What pin do you want to choose? Do you want 7? Okay, let's go with 8. Okay, so you get the wire, connect it through 8, and then plug it anywhere you want. Let's choose here, right here. Okay, done. See how we've got that wired up? 8 to the breadboard. This means nothing so far. Now we're plugging this in for programming. we're not plugging this in for immediate control on or immediate turn on. So you get the tall pin, which is not the ground one, which I explained, the other one, the long one. You plug that in on the same row of the wire that you put. So if you put the wire here, you want to plug it on the same row. So here, and make sure the short pin is not on the same row. So you can put it anywhere you like that. You see how I've got that hooked up? Just zoom in, just focus. Okay, God, this camera is rubbish. Alright, so you've got the long pin, the wire, and you have the short pin on a different row, which is good. Now we have to connect this short pin to the ground. Alright, but before we do that, what we can do is, usually you can use the wire, but I don't have an extra wire. Unless you want me, you can wait for me to go get a wire from downstairs. But you can just connect one leg of the resistor itself. Now I've used a 220 ohm resistor. Now some people question, well, how many ohms do I have to choose? Now for an LED you can go from 220 to 330 if you use Ohm's law, because you're applying 5 volts. So if you do the math, you'll find that this is the kind of resistance that you would like. If you don't use a resistor, you end up melting this thing, because we're not connecting it to pin 30. Remember, we're connecting it to a separate pin of your own choice, which means it does not have an inbuilt resistor in it. So you'll be basically melting it in maybe 2 seconds or less. So connect one leg of the resistor and then the other leg to ground, which is, I can't see, okay, 13, and this should be ground, like that. Okay, see how I made a bridge? You see this bridge? You've got the wire, the LED, and then the bridge going to ground. This could be a wire, but I've just done it this way. It's not a good way to do it, because you can't basically move it around. Now that's about it. That's about it to turn on it, to connect, not turn on yet, connect an LED. Now we have to go to the programming part and connecting your microcontroller to your computer. Just pop in the wire. By the way, you're gonna be requiring this type of wire, the one that you use for printers. I think it's a type B or A, I don't know what they call it. Plug that in and you hook that up to your, where is it, USB to your PC. Let's jump to the computer right now.
Now let's go to the part where we have to code it. Now if you have the Arduino installed, I suggest you head over to arduino.cc and slow internet. Okay, you go to download page over here and you either choose the Windows installer or the Windows zip file if you're using a non-administrative computer. And if you got different systems, I'm using Windows, so if you got different systems, you choose which one you have. Now you just click it and it downloads. I'm not going to download because I already have it. So you close this after you've finished, and then you open it up, and then you have your system ready to go. So over here, don't think that you've got code by luck set up for you. This is just nothing. This is just a setup. Now sometimes you not get this, but let me just explain this. Now an Arduino code always has to come with a setup and a void loop, 2 functions. Whatever you put here will run repeatedly, and whatever you put here will run once, and this is where you set up your pins. The first thing, okay, is do you remember where you connected your LED to? Now look at your board right now. In our case, we've connected to pin 8. So you have to, now I don't know if you're familiar with programming, but you do require some programming skills in this. So I've selected the int and declare your variable. I want to call it LED pin. Okay, equals what? Now this equals to the pin that you've connected it to, which in my case is 8. Just so you remember, this is connected LED to pin 8. And then after this, you're basically done with this part. Now let's go to the setup part. Let's get rid of this. I don't like this predefined comments. Alright. Now the void setup. Now we have to tell the controller that you've actually set this pin number 8 to either an input or an output. Now since you want to blink an LED, it clearly is output. So how do you write that in the Arduino language? You go pin mode. Now be careful here, case sensitivity is very important. So if I write mode with a small m, you see how it has to turn orange, or a big or a capital P still. So make sure you write it with the proper case sensitivity. Pin mode. Pin mode what? Now which pin? We've already called the LED pin over here, so we write LED pin. And now what? You want it as input or output? Now how do you write that? Simple. Just output. And don't forget your that semicolon, whatever it's called. Okay, so over here we're done with this part. Now let's come over here. This is where you're gonna be running your code or whatever you want to do. Let's say we want to blink our code. Alright. We want to blink the LED every second. So how do we do that? Now if you want to turn on a specific pin, set it high, give it 5 volts in other words, we have to write a specific command. So how do you set a specific pin? For example, if you connected any sensor to any pin, say you've connected a door sensor to pin 5, and you want to toggle pin 5 high, you want to switch it on, what do? You write digital, because it's a digital pin, of course. I told you these are connected as digital pins. Digital right with a capital W. Again, case sensitivity. Bracket open. And then you write your pin, what you've declared, what you've connected, LED pin again. Now you want it, what do? You want to turn it on, but you can't write on. You can't write turn it on. You have to write it in its language, which means high. Give it 5 volts. Or in other words, switch it on. There. Now it's on. Great. What do we do next? We want it to blink. So there must be some sort of delay between on and off. So how do we write delay? Simple. We just write the word delay, and it's usually in microseconds. Milliseconds. So we write 1,000 for 1 second. And then we want to switch it off. Switch it off is, you guys love this. You guys do it. Don't act like you don't know what you copy pasting your whole life. So you just copy paste. Alright, this is what you guys are good at. Copy pasting. We're all good at that. But it always comes at a cost. You don't just copy paste. You gotta change it from high to low. Don't forget. There we go. Digital right LED pin high, delay 1000, and then you have a digital right LED pin low. So that switches it on. Wait 1 second, it switches it off. Let me just put a comment in there. Whoops. Switch it off. Once you've got it switched off, you gotta make sure you. Now what we did is so far we've switched it on. We put a delay and we switched it off. Now you just need one more delay and then you're done. 1 second. Now head over to tools before you touch anything else. Now your code is complete. Head over to tools and go to your board over here. Make sure you've selected the correct board that you're using, because if you haven't, like if you've selected the Uno and you're using a Mega, then your program will not compile properly. Another thing is that go to the port. After you've done this, go to the port and you've select the COM that you've connected your microcontroller to. So usually it comes not selected, so make sure you select it if it's your first time, and whenever you connect it, make sure you've selected it. The next part is look for the upload button and hit the upload. Your LED should be blinking on and off each second. If it isn't, check your connections again. If it is, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks.